Yeah, guys, that woman's car was parked right here in this parking lot. That's when she said she walked over to scan this QR code. As you can see behind me, things have calmed down significantly. This will be Biden's second visit to the border as president. He visited El Paso in January last year. As you can see behind me, the Burleson County Expo is filling up with supporters of former President Donald Trump. The focus of today's message was protecting civil rights. The president says a big part of that starts with the Supreme Court and ending lifetime appointments. See, the holiday season has officially arrived here in Aggie land. Parents have questioned if that procedure was followed. His case of animal cruelty went viral after photos were shared by the College Station Police Department. Today we learned they have no plans to release that information unless the Attorney General forces them to. That group is looking to get 30,000 signatures on that petition. Despite Donald Trump not being here, his supporters came out in full force, waving signs and chanting slogans. Many here saying they're committed to this upcoming election and their belief in Trump's vision for America. 19 students, 2 teachers killed, and at least 17 others were physically injured that day. In the end, all it took was 56 minutes for this jury to find Bundren guilty. That's the reality for some Iola residents since their local post office shut down 2 months ago. I reached out to the district today to find out why Hernandez Grimaldo was allowed to transfer despite the allegations of inappropriate behavior. They want you to put down the distractions, focus on the road, and keep an eye out for children and school buses. Retailers like Amazon have special hubs set up like this one where you can have your packages shipped to.
I'm going to warn you right now, this next story is pretty nasty. A Bryan family can breathe a little easier this afternoon after we stepped in to get answers about a clogged sewer line that sent grease, diapers, and other waste into a backyard. The homeowners say it's a problem that first began in 2010 and demand now a permanent solution. News 3's Donnie Tuggle investigates and has the story you'll see only here on KBTX.
Maria Hoffman's family has called this house off Martin Luther King and Bryan home for over 40 years.
Am I frustrated? Yes.
Multiple times a month for the last 10 years, they've had to smell the worst of the worst.
I cannot think of anyone who would want to have this issue in their backyard.
And with warmer temperatures just around the corner, they hope to enjoy their backyard and fresh air finally.
When it's 102 degrees and you've got the smell of poop surrounding you, you cannot stand out here. It's a health hazard.
A sewer line connected to multiple businesses on Martin Luther King Street is thought to be the problem. Our cameras were rolling when the city stopped by to investigate and clean up the spill.
Today we jetted the line and cleared the blockage.
But Hoffman says she wants the city to do more.
Look at the sewer pipe and recognize that it needs to be rerouted to Martin Luther King because it cannot maintain a washateria and a restaurant and the residents here.
City officials say they're looking into a permanent solution.
So we can look at that to see what options there may be as far as putting that store on another line.
It's an easy fix. Spend the money that I've invested for the last 40 years of my taxpayers' money, reroute the pipe to Martin Luther King and off of my yard.
Getting results for you in Bryan, Donnie Tuggle, News 3.
The stated reason for putting in them is public safety, and that is a noble purpose. But in some cases, it does lead to unsafe conditions.
Community members continue to voice concerns about medians along Texas Avenue. Recently shared video footage has raised serious concerns about emergency response times in Bryan. The video shows a fire truck struggling for nearly 3 minutes to reach an accident scene due to those medians. Ultimately, EMS personnel had to abandon their ambulance and walk to the scene. In this KBTX exclusive, Donnie Tuggle met with the Bryan fire chief to discuss the issue.
Recently shared video footage has sparked concerns about emergency response times and medians. The 4-minute video taken earlier this year captures the aftermath of a 3-vehicle crash on Texas Avenue and the Bryan Fire Department's challenges in rendering aid. Denise Freeze witnessed the incident.
I was actually horrified to see how difficult it was for that fire truck to make a turn safely, and then very concerned for the first responders who showed up, had to abandon their vehicle in the middle of the road and run to the scene of the accident.
Bryan Fire Chief Richard Giusti says these scenarios are not uncommon.
They cause restrictions for us because we can't cross over them, especially with our larger apparatus. And when that happens, there's nowhere for the public to pull over to. And because of that, it causes traffic jams, and sometimes you have to go a lot further up to turn around.
Experts say whether medians should be removed or not depends on various factors, including accident data. Giusti says that while medians can be inconvenient, they also serve an important purpose.
They prevent people from going over them to have head-on collisions, but they also slow down emergency response.
Freeze and other community members are now calling for a reassessment of median placement to ensure they're not causing more harm than good.
We need to be in a situation where we use some common sense logic to try to make it be where medians are removed in certain sections of the road so that the first responders can get to where they need to go as quickly as they used to be able to go when a turning lane existed.
In Bryan, Donnie Tuggle, News 3.
I pass out my cell phone number. My email address is posted online. I am here to be able to hear parents, redirect towards staff, and to be able to review.
IL Texas school leaders are responding tonight to criticism from those who say the school has not taken adequate steps to ensure students' safety and address incidents of alleged staff misconduct. And all of that comes after a former school teacher was accused of assaulting a 12-year-old student in a bathroom on campus and leaving bruises on another student, one who has special needs. This all came to light after KBTX reporting. The school met with parents today to address those concerns. We were not allowed in on that meeting. However, school leaders did sit down with our Donnie Tuggle to answer some of those questions. Donnie?
Yeah, that's right, Rusty. IL Texas Superintendent Eddie Conger declined to comment on any specific allegations due to ongoing investigations, but told me he and his team are committed to student and campus safety. For nearly half an hour, IL Texas Superintendent Eddie Conger sat down with me to answer some of the tough questions surrounding student safety on campus. This comes as parents of a student with special needs say former Spanish teacher Jose Hernandez Grimaldo left bruises on their son in 2022. A few months later, the same teacher was accused of sexually assaulting a 12-year-old girl in one of the bathrooms on campus. He was fired, rehired, and transferred to another campus, even as police continued their investigation. I tried to ask the superintendent about that, and he cut me off mid-sentence. Can you walk us through the decision to allow Mr. Hernandez back on campus after?
I'm not going to be able to address any issues related to any ongoing investigations that the police may have.
What the superintendent did tell us were his plans to improve communications with parents.
I know that there's going to always be folks that are not going to feel like they're heard or that they're satisfied. And I appreciate any and every parent who reaches out to me and relay any information of any concern, especially if it deals with safety and security.
Parents impacted told us they believe the school failed their children.
And you continue to fail our children after I told you that they were not safe.
After multiple people told you that they weren't safe.
I asked the father and grandfather if he agreed. In this particular case here, do you believe that the system failed?
Anytime, like I said earlier, anytime my granddaughter's hurt, your system failed. My granddaughter's hurt, I'm going to be upset. So that is my answer. There is no satisfactory answer for any child to be hurt, regardless of where you are.
When it comes to student safety moving forward, Congress says they will put a renewed focus on what he says they've been doing for years.
What I plan to do is what we have always done, and that is to make sure that any and every allegation that we investigate, that all of our staff, all of our over 2,000 employees, that all of us are complying with law.
Superintendent Conger stressed that while these incidents are isolated, they reflect a nationwide issue. He also emphasized the importance of thanking educators for their hard work and urged everyone to listen, notice, and report concerns. If you see something, say something. In studio, Donnie Tuggle, News 3.
There's a lot hinging on the way the VA works, right? And unfortunately, I get it, it's a government program, but it could be a little better. I mean,
it has been a little over 5 months since the PACT Act was signed into law. The bipartisan legislation expanded VA health care and benefits for veterans exposed to burn pits, Agent Orange, and other toxic substances. But after struggling to get that care from the VA, a Brazos Valley veteran and his family have now turned to KBTX for help in getting the benefits that he's earned. They're sharing their story with News 3's Donnie Tuggle.
Sergeant Major Sid Hamid is an Army Special Forces Green Beret with nearly 40 years of service. He's been diagnosed with not just one, but 6 of 23 new rare diseases covered by the PACT Act passed last year.
I mean, I've got 25% of my heart working, so I can't do a lot of things.
Despite the legislation, the Robertson County veteran says he's yet to get the care he's earned.
We've done everything we can and everything we were told to do.
His wife Melissa is his primary caregiver. She says despite the new law, thousands of pages of medical records and letters from doctors from across the country, they've still had a hard time navigating the claim process.
He may not have been shot in battle, and he may not have had an IED remove a limb, but he is slowly dying just the same as anyone injured in action from these toxic burn pit diseases.
Melissa says paperwork being processed by a third-party company for the VA is believed to be the root of their issues. But when we started to ask questions to the VA, their case was expedited.
When someone has ultimately fatal illnesses and they're in advanced heart failure, even if they don't look sick, the timely processing by that third-party company that's getting paid through our taxpayer dollars to be a middleman, I think that's something the VA could put some attention on.
Hamid says he just doesn't want any other veteran to go what he's gone through.
There are some guys that have died because they never got the treatment, they never got the recognition, their family never got the help.
Donnie Tuggle, News 3.
Veterans Affairs told us that in situations like this, it is best to reach out to an accredited representative who can assist with claims processing. As to when Mr. Hamid is going to be able to receive care, the VA says it has spoken with him and explained the next steps in the process. We've got more of their response with this story at kbtx.com. Well, short-term rentals have become the norm in many cities, generating income for homeowners and providing lodging options for those who are traveling.
But tonight, one property owner is sharing his story after he says the popular service Airbnb hasn't paid him for several bookings totaling thousands of dollars.
News 3's Donnie Tuggle has been investigating this. Donnie, what you learn?
Rusty, Katie, the Airbnb host told me the payment stopped over a month ago. He says with significant events coming up, he thought it was important to warn other hosts so they could be prepared and know what steps to take if they encounter similar problems. This is one of the homes Joe Hamer rents out in Brazos County. He says Airbnb usually pays him the day after a guest checks out, but last month, those payments suddenly stopped.
They basically owe me for 6 bookings at this point, and it's over $8,700.
He says although the payments have ceased, the bills continue to arrive.
I have a mortgage, I have cleaners. I've been paying the cleaners, for all of these guests out of pocket. Utilities, everything. I'm running a business here, not a charity.
An Airbnb spokesperson told me this afternoon this was an isolated issue that has now been resolved. They say issues like these are rare and Hamer should receive his money within 72 hours. I also spoke to the Better Business Bureau, who told me if you run into a similar situation, contact the company in writing and keep records of all transactions and correspondence. They also suggest reporting the issue to them as they can act as an unbiased mediator. Hamer says he wants others to be prepared for the what-ifs that may arise.
If it happens to them, they can get caught off guard, and not everyone's going to be able to float $8,000, $10,000. So it's just something to be aware of and to kind of anticipate ahead of time.
Hamer had been contacting the company for weeks until KBTX stepped in. Once we reached the right person, Airbnb worked to correct the issue immediately. Live in studio, Donnie Tuggle, News 3.
Donnie, thank you.